I never thought a few careless jokes could cost me my marriage. I never thought a single evening would split my life into before and after. But that night in Willow Creek, at my friend Harper's backyard party, I learned that even the most patient man has a breaking point, and my husband Benjamin had just reached his. It started harmlessly. At least, that's what I tried to tell myself later. The fire pit crackled softly, casting warm orange ripples on our faces. Everyone was laughing, drinking, snacking. And I, as usual, became the loudest one in the circle. Harper poured more wine into my glass, and I felt the comfortable buzz of confidence settle in. "So, guys," I began, a smirk forming on my lips, "you will not believe what Ben did last weekend. He tried to surprise me with a fancy dinner in Riversend." I exaggerated air quotes, rolling my eyes. A couple of my friends giggled automatically. "I mean, it was cute," I continued, "but he completely changed our plans without telling me. I had to cancel my Manny appointment just so we could make it on time." Another wave of laughter, encouraging, feeding me. "And then," I said louder, "he got the wrong restaurant. I mean, how do you even do that? I told him Lorenzo's, and he booked Luciano's." I laughed and shook my head, sipping wine. But I guess that's Ben. Always trying so hard, always getting it slightly wrong. The group laughed again, some politely, some genuinely. But one thing was different that night. Benjamin, who had been quietly setting down drinks at the table behind me, stopped mid-movement. He stood still just long enough for me to notice, long enough for something unsettling to stir inside me. But I brushed it off. I was on a roll, after all. My friends were enjoying it. And it felt so good to be the funny one, the entertaining one, the one who always made the group laugh. But then Benjamin walked over to me and said something I will never forget. "Elena," he said quietly, "we need to talk. Now." His voice wasn't angry. It wasn't raised. It was something worse, flat, resolved, already closed. I blinked at him in confusion. "Ben, we're in the middle of a story." "I said," he repeated, "we need to talk." A couple of my friends exchanged glances. The music suddenly felt too loud. The laughter died awkwardly. I reluctantly stood up and followed him to the side of the yard, near the dim porch lights. He turned to me, arms crossed. His jaw was tense, not with rage, but with something final. "Elena," he said, "this is the last time you make me the punchline." I scoffed a little too dramatically. "Oh, come on. It was a joke." "No," he replied sharply. "It was humiliation. Again, in front of your friends. Like always." I opened my mouth to respond, but he lifted his hand slightly. Not to silence me, but because he had more to say. "You don't respect me. You haven't respected me for a long time. And tonight made me realize something." The air felt too cold suddenly. "Realize what?" "That our marriage," he said carefully, "is over." My entire body froze. "What?" "I'm done," he continued. "I'm done being your target. I'm done being treated like I'm not enough. I'm done pretending this is love." I felt my heart climb into my throat. "Ben, stop. You're overreacting." "No," he said. "I'm finally reacting. And when you get home tonight, your things will be waiting for you on the porch." My vision blurred. "You're kicking me out?" "I'm asking you to leave," he corrected, "because I can't keep doing this." "I won't." I reached for his arm, desperate, but he stepped back. "Elena, you've treated me like a joke for years. I know you never meant to destroy us, but you did." He turned and walked back inside, leaving me in the cold yard, trembling, breathless. and suddenly, painfully, sober. I tried to compose myself, but when I returned to the group, their eyes told me everything. Pity, surprise, discomfort. No one laughed now. No one even spoke. The party felt dead, ruined by the truth I'd tried to bury under jokes. I didn't sit back down. I left. The drive home was a blur of headlights and panic. My stomach churned as I pulled into the driveway. The porch light was on, and so was a harsh new reality. My suitcases were already there, neatly packed, and sitting on top of them was my wedding ring, the one I had taken off earlier that week to not ruin it during brunch. I burst into tears right there on the steps. The door opened. Benjamin stood in the doorway, calm and heartbreakingly distant. "You'll stay with your parents tonight," he said. "In the morning, I'll call the attorney." "Ben, please," I sobbed. "This isn't fair. You're ending us over a joke?" "No," he said quietly. "I'm ending us over years of them. And because I finally realized you never valued me, not the way I valued you." Before I could reply, he stepped back inside, and he closed the door. Firmly. Finally. Leaving me alone on the porch with my luggage, my stupidity, and the devastating truth that for the first time in our marriage, Benjamin wasn't asking me to stop. He was already gone. I don't remember how I dialed my father's number. My hands were shaking too hard, my vision too blurred from tears. The cold night air bit through my thin jacket as I sat on the porch steps beside my luggage. When my dad answered with his usual warm, steady tone, I completely broke. "Dad, can you come get me?" There was silence. Heavy, understanding silence. "We're on our way," he finally said. When they arrived, 20 minutes later, my mother jumped out of the car before it even stopped fully. She wrapped her arms around me without a word, her chin trembling against my shoulder. My father didn't say anything either. He simply picked up my bags and placed them gently into the trunk. But his eyes were full of pain, not just for me, but for Benjamin too. They had always adored him. My parents saw him as the son they never had. Responsible, kind, endlessly patient. Everything I, in my selfishness, had taken for granted. Back at their house, I went straight to my old bedroom and collapsed onto the bed. My mother stroked my hair until I fell asleep from exhaustion, still in my clothes. The next morning, I woke up with a swollen face and a feeling that my chest was full of broken glass. I checked my phone. No calls, no messages, nothing. Not from Benjamin, not from my friends. Only one group chat message from Harper. "Are you okay, Elena? That got intense." I stared at it for a long time, feeling nothing but bitterness. Intense? My marriage had ended in front of her, and that was all she had to say? I didn't answer. The next few days passed like a fog. I cried until my head hurt. I replayed every stupid joke, every sarcastic comment, every time I'd belittled Benjamin just to get a laugh. How could I not have seen what I was doing? How could I have treated the man who loved me like a prop for entertainment? On the fourth day, something unexpected happened. I overheard my parents talking in the kitchen. I hadn't meant to eavesdrop. I was just walking downstairs when I heard my mother's hushed voice. "She's devastated, Robert. But part of me thinks she needed this reality check." My father sighed heavily. "I know. I love our daughter. But she wasn't fair to Benjamin. He put up with so much. Too much. I'm surprised he held on as long as he did." I stopped breathing. My father continued, voice low and sad. He worshipped her, and she kept brushing him aside, making jokes at his expense. You could see it in his eyes. He was slowly breaking. My mother added quietly, "Maybe this will teach her to value people, truly value them." I felt a sharp pain in my chest, shame, deep and cutting. Hearing my own parents quietly acknowledge my cruelty, it shattered me. I went back to my room, closed the door, and sank to the floor. I had become the villain in my own story. That afternoon, I made a decision. I took out a notebook and began writing down every memory, every instance I could think of where I'd belittled, mocked, dismissed, or ignored Benjamin. The list became long, far too long. Reading it made me sick. When I finished, I whispered to myself with a trembling voice, "I won't call him. I won't disturb him. He deserves peace." Instead, I began something I should have started years ago. I began fixing myself. I found a job at a local marketing firm, not glamorous, not exciting, but stable. I threw myself into work, refusing to give my mind time to wander. My social life shrank fast. Harper stopped texting. So did the others. Without parties and gossip, they had nothing to offer me. And for the first time I realized they were never really my friends. They were people I entertained, not people who cared. So I bought self-help books. I started journaling. I signed up for therapy sessions with Dr. Lawson, a calm, sharp-eyed woman who didn't let me run from my own flaws. She didn't sugarcoat anything. "Elena," she said during one session, "you didn't lose your marriage because you were a bad wife. You lost it because you were an unaware one. You didn't look at your partner. You looked at the audience." Those words hit me like a punch. "Love," she added gently, "isn't something you perform. It's something you practice, with respect, with awareness, with humility." Therapy became the place where I slowly unbuilt my worst habits and learned to rebuild healthier ones. A month later, something happened that I never expected. At the grocery store, near the bakery aisle, I saw Mrs. Patterson, our former neighbor. A warm, silver-haired woman who'd known Benjamin since he was a child. She spotted me, and her expression instantly softened with concern. "Oh, sweetheart," she said, pulling me into a hug. "I was hoping I'd run into you." I swallowed hard. "Hi, Mrs. Patterson." She held my hands. "I heard what happened, and I'm so sorry." Her sympathy almost made me cry again. "But I want you to know something," she continued. "Benjamin has been asking about you." I froze. "What?" "He asked if you were staying with your parents, if you were okay, if you were eating." I felt tears form instantly. "I don't understand," I whispered. "Why would he still care after everything I did?" She smiled softly. "Because that boy has a big heart. But don't mistake that for weakness. He walked away because he had to, not because he stopped caring." I nodded slowly, overwhelmed. Then she reached into her purse and handed me a small piece of paper. "That's his new number. He changed phones last month. If you ever feel ready, maybe send him a message." My hands trembled as I took it. "You don't have to call," she added gently. "Just think about it." And I did. For days. Should I reach out? Should I apologize? Should I open old wounds just because I was hurting? I didn't know. But one night, lying awake, staring at the ceiling in my parents' guest room, I realized something important. I wasn't reaching out to get him back. I was reaching out to tell the truth I should have told long ago. So the next morning, with shaking fingers, I wrote him a message. "Benjamin, I'm sorry. For everything. Not the little things, but the years of disrespect. You didn't deserve any of it. I hope you find happiness, with or without me. Thank you for loving me longer than I deserved. I stared at it for 20 minutes before pressing send, and when I did, I felt lighter, like I had finally freed something inside myself. Hours passed, then a full day. No answer. My chest tightened with dread. But on the second morning, my phone buzzed. A single message. Thank you, Elena. I'm glad you're doing better. I hope life brings you peace. Truly. It wasn't a reconciliation, it wasn't hope, but it wasn't anger anymore. For the first time, he didn't sound hurt. He sounded at peace. And that alone gave me strength to continue healing. The weeks after Marina announced her decision were the darkest I had ever lived through. Not because of the illness itself, but because of the silent war between us. A war neither of us wanted, yet both were trapped in. I tried everything. Reason, anger, desperation. I begged. I argued. I even walked out one night just to clear my head, and came back terrified she might use that moment to do something irreversible. But Marina stayed firm, almost eerily calm. This is my life, she repeated again and again. My choice. What she didn't say, but I could feel, was that she thought she was saving me by pushing me away. One evening, as the sun died behind the skyline, I found her sitting on the balcony wrapped in a blanket, staring into the fading light. She looked peaceful, too peaceful, as if she had already accepted the ending I refused to acknowledge. Marina, I said quietly, please talk to me. She didn't turn. Talking won't change anything. Maybe it won't, but keeping everything inside is killing us faster than the diagnosis. She finally looked at me, and her eyes were different, tired, swollen, but also filled with a softness that made my chest tighten. I don't want you to watch me deteriorate, she whispered. I want you to remember me like this. Whole, beautiful, strong. You're still all of that, I said, voice cracking. But for how long? A month? 2? She shook her head. I know what the treatment will do. I've seen the pictures. I've read the stories. I don't want to become someone you barely recognize. I knelt beside her, grabbing her freezing hands. You don't get to decide for me what I can or can't handle. You're my wife. You think I want to live without you? You think watching you walk into death voluntarily won't destroy me? Her expression faltered. A crack in her armor. For a moment, she almost leaned into me, almost gave in. But then she pulled her hands away. This is not about you. That's the problem, I snapped. You're treating me like some stranger, like I haven't spent years building a life with you. She looked down at her lap. I'm trying to protect you. By leaving me? By sparing you. That broke me. Completely. I stood up, walked inside, slammed the door, and felt the world collapse around me. I wanted to scream, to break something, to shake her, until she understood I didn't care about the suffering. I cared about losing her. But a strange thing happened the next morning. I woke up and found Marina in the kitchen pouring tea, her movements slow but graceful. She looked up, and for the first time in weeks, she smiled. A small, fragile smile, but real. I booked a weekend trip, she said, sliding a printed confirmation toward me. Just the two of us. Somewhere quiet. I stared at her, confused. What is this? A pause, she said. One last moment before everything changes. My throat tightened. Marina, why does this sound like goodbye? She walked to me, placing her hand gently on my cheek. Because in a way it is. I froze. She continued. Andrew, I'm not starting treatment, but I don't want us to spend the time I have left fighting. I want you to have something beautiful to remember. Not arguments, not hospitals, not fear. I grabbed her wrist. No, Marina, no. We're not doing a beautiful goodbye. We're not doing a last trip. We're not. This isn't a countdown. Her voice was soft. Too soft. It already is. The weekend trip. I didn't agree, but she booked it anyway. And part of me, the broken, exhausted part, knew I would follow her no matter how much it hurt. Because when someone you love is slipping away, you cling to every hour like it's the last. But I didn't yet know the truth. Marina wasn't just refusing treatment. She was planning something else, something she hadn't told me, something that would shatter everything. The trip Marina planned was to a small coastal town we had visited once years ago, back when life was simple and the future felt endless. I didn't want to go. Every part of me screamed that this was her way of sealing a decision I still refused to accept. But I went. Because love makes you follow even when it hurts. The first night was almost peaceful. We walked along the beach, the wind cold and sharp, the sky bruised with fading light. Marina laughed at something small, a joke I barely made, and for a moment, I saw the woman I married. Not the patient, not the fighter, just her. But under that fleeting happiness, there was something else, a distance, a softness that felt like farewell. I noticed her watching me when she thought I wasn't looking, memorizing me, as if burning the moment into her mind. Later, in the hotel room, she sat on the edge of the bed and held my hand for a long time. Not speaking, not crying, just holding it, quietly, like someone clinging to the last warm thing in a cold world. Andrew, she finally whispered, promise me something. No, I said immediately. I'm not promising anything until you tell me what you're planning. She closed her eyes. Just don't be angry at me. The fear in her voice made my chest tighten. What did you do, Marina? I just want you to be happy, she said. Even without me. Stop, I snapped. Stop talking like that. But she didn't argue. She only smiled, a heartbreaking, final kind of smile, and kissed my forehead. That night, she fell asleep in my arms. I stayed awake for hours, watching her breathe, terrified that every exhale might be her last. Eventually, exhaustion pulled me under too. When I woke up, the other side of the bed was cold. At first, I thought she was in the bathroom, then getting breakfast, then down at the beach. But something inside me, something primal, knew immediately. She was gone. I found her note on the bedside table. A neatly folded piece of paper with my name on it. My hands shook as I opened it. Don't look for me. I'm giving you the only gift I can now. Freedom from the suffering that was coming. Please live your life. Please forgive me. I love you more than my own future. Marina. My vision blurred. My heart hammered so violently I thought it might stop. I ran out of the room, down the hall, through the lobby, calling her name like a madman. Guests stared, staff stared. I didn't care. I searched the beach, the cliffs, the streets. I found nothing. The police got involved. Search teams scanned the coastline. They found her shoes on the sand near the rocks, but no sign of her. The sea was rough that morning, the kind of rough that doesn't give survivors back. I screamed at the officers, at the doctors, at the sky, at myself. Days passed, then weeks. Hope rotted into grief. Grief hardened into something colder. The case was eventually closed. Presumed self-inflicted disappearance linked to terminal illness. Tragic. Unpreventable. All those useless words people use when they don't know what to say. They didn't know she stole my choice, stole our time, stole the fight from me. But a part of me, the smallest, cruelest part, understood. She didn't want me to watch her die slowly, so she chose to disappear quickly. A year later, I still haven't returned to that town. I still wake up reaching for her hand. I still read that note when I need to remind myself that love can be both gentle and devastating. But sometimes, on quiet nights, I swear, I feel her next to me, warm, laughing softly, whispering that she's sorry. And I whisper back into the darkness. I would have stayed, Marina, until the very end. But the sea keeps its secrets, and so does love.